In the beginning of the movie, we see Furiosa is picking peaches with a friend when they hear a strange sound. Even though her friend advises her to ignore it, but Furiosa goes to check out the noise and finds a group of motorcycle bandits. Sensing danger, she cuts the gas pipe of one bike, but before she can do the same to another, a biker named Toe Jam catches her. To protect herself, Furiosa quickly stabs his legs and runs away, blowing a whistle to alert the villagers. But sadly, the biker used whip to catch Furiosa and kidnap her. Soon, Furiosa's mom, Mary, and some warriors start chasing the bikers on their horses. She attacks a biker using her sword and he falls off the bike. Then Mary took his bike. But before Mary goes to save Furiosa, the village leader gives her lots of ammo and she left. In her way, Mary shoots another biker from a distance, and the other two men stop to figure out what's happening. When the bikers see Mary approaching, they take off. And Mary quickly repairs the broken bike with parts from the one she took, making sure she has enough fuel to keep going. The pursuit goes on, and by nighttime, one of the bikes is out of gas. The men start arguing about their next move, and while they're busy, Furiosa cuts the ropes tied around her wrists and escapes. Unfortunately, the biker catches Furiosa again. The next day, Mary sees they're at the biker's hideout and shoots another one of them. Now, only Toe Jam is left with Furiosa. He brags to his friends about finding a rich place and tries to bring Furiosa to their boss. But Furiosa jumps off and throws Toe Jam's weapon into the bike's wheel, causing him to crash. After that, Furiosa and Toe Jam, who is badly hurt, are brought to meet the boss, a warlord named Dementus. But Toe Jam passes away while trying to talk to Dementus, and when Furiosa tries to attack him, the others stop her. Then Dementus asks Furiosa, but she won't reveal where she's from. So Dementus chooses to keep her around and treat her nicely, thinking he can trick her into trusting him. Afterward, we see Mary sneaks into the camp and fights her way through, taking out several people until she finds Furiosa's tent. There, she defeats one more person, but feels sorry for the woman who's cleaning Furiosa. This woman says she's also a victim and is a mother too. However, as soon as Mary and Furiosa start to leave, the woman who was cleaning Furiosa warns everyone. A guard opened fire on Mary. The bullet struck fuel barrel and setting her clothes on fire, so she has to stop and take them off. After that, they escape on the bike quickly, but Mary can hear Dementus and his crew chasing them. So she tells Furiosa to go back home alone and hands her a peach seed to plant when she gets there. Then Mary manages to shoot down some of the chasers, but then she's caught by the rest and can't fight them off. Hearing the noise, Furiosa returns and sees the gang putting Mary on a cross-like frame. They injure her while trying to make her tell them where she's from, but she refuses to betray her community. And Dementus makes Furiosa watch as his men finish off Mary, and he even tastes Furiosa's tears. The next day, as they're leaving, the history man offers to teach Furiosa how to write and read to make her important to Dementus, but Furiosa doesn't pay attention to him. It looks like she's chosen to stay quiet forever. One night, Furiosa uses some ink she finds to draw a map of the stars on her arm, so she'll always remember how to get back home. A few days later, while Dementus's group is out in the desert, they notice a big red smoke signal. They go to check it out and meet a war boy, a soldier who serves Immortan Joe at the Citadel. Dementus asks about a rich place, and the war boy thinks he means the Citadel, so he leads them there. When they get to the Citadel, all the people who are enslaved there hide because they're scared. Dementus calls out for the boss, threatening to harm them if they don't help him, but he also says he'll give them freedom if they do. Right then, the boss Immortan Joe arrives, and his helper tells Dementus to pick a war boy to keep talking. They pick one, and he gets ready by painting his teeth. Then he jumps from a bridge, slides down some cables, and ends up dying in a big blast. Joe's helper says that all the war boys are willing to give up their lives for Joe. After the bosses leave, the war boys launch an attack on Dementus's gang. A lot of Dementus's men are killed, and their motorcycles with chains are taken. They also take Furiosa's cage, and the slaves try to take her and the history man away. But Dementus manages to save them just in time, and his gang retreat. A bit later, Dementus and his crew arrive at Gastown, another stronghold in the desert. They hide and wait for a group of vehicles to leave the town. When the vehicles came out, they ambush them, taking out the guards quickly. After that, Some of the bikers dress up like war boys and drive the vehicles back to Gastown. Meanwhile, Dementis and the rest of his men act like they're being chased to trick the people in Gastown. At first, the people guarding the gate won't open it because they think something's wrong. Then Dementis starts to killing his own men who are dressed up to trick the gatekeepers. This makes the gatekeepers think the attack is real, so they open the gates to help the convoy. The bikers can't go in, but there are more of Dementis' men hidden in the truck. They jump out and quickly take control of the gatekeepers, making them open the gates. Soon after, Dementis and his fighters get in and take over the town. Later, they send Immortan Joe the finger of the Gastown leader, and Joe decides to set up a meeting. Afterward, Dementis shows up with the leader of Gastown, who is in pain because of a device attached to his head. The leader begs his brother Joe to have mercy. But when Joe's sons start fighting, Dementis fights back and ends up killing the leader. After that, Dementis tells everyone that he has hidden bombs everywhere in Gastown, and he's the only person who knows how to turn them on or off. Then he threatens to destroy the town with the bombs if they don't make him the leader of Gastown. But Joe starts paying attention to Furiosa, so Dementis quickly claims that she's his daughter. But Furiosa says that's not true, and tells Joe that Dementis was the one who killed her mother. Finally, Immortan Joe decides to give Dementis control over Gastown if he can have Furiosa and one of the bikers. Dementis isn't happy with the deal but accepts it, and he takes back the teddy bear he gave to Furiosa before he goes. After that, Joe says Furiosa will become one of his wives, and she's moved to stay with his other wives. The other wives are kind to her, but Furiosa is upset because she sees Joe making them spend time with him against their will. One day, one of the wives gives birth to a baby girl, but Joe isn't happy because he wanted a boy. While all this is happening, Joe's son keeps playing with Furiosa's hair, which makes her very uncomfortable. Later, when she's alone, Furiosa shows that she kept the peach seed from her mother. She cuts her hair and uses a net and candle wax to make a fake wig so no one realizes her hair is short. One day, Joe's son brings Furiosa to his room and tries to force himself on her. But when he pulls on her hair, he only gets the wig, and Furiosa escapes, leaving the wig in his hands. While Furiosa jumps off and hides under a bridge, the guy who was after her comes to find her, but his brother sees him. Not wanting to get into trouble with Joe, he throws the wig away and goes without finding Furiosa. After a while, Furiosa pretends to be a boy and doesn't talk, so she blends in as one of the workers. She's really skilled at climbing and jumping, which helps her quickly become one of the mechanics who use chains to lift old vehicles. 15 years pass, and no one finds out who Furiosa really is because she acts like she can't speak and follows all the rules to show she's loyal to Joe. Then, the mechanics are told to make a new, strong vehicle called a war rig. They equip it with a big drill they call the Bomby Knocker. Praetorian Jack, who's been the best driver up to now, will be the one to drive it. After working hard, Jack drives the new war rig for the first time, but he's quickly trapped by some of Dementis' old gang members who've left to start their own group. They glide down from the sky on parachutes attached to their bikes to attack the war rig. The war boys, who are part of Joe's army, are being defeated one after another, and some even jump off the rig to save it. And Jack doesn't stop. He keeps driving and runs over both the bikers and his own war boys. Furiosa, who is riding a bike in the convoy, ends up under the war rig, which shields her from a bomb. When the mechanic dies, she takes his tools to start repairing the war rig. While the bad guys keep attacking the big truck, they try to blow it up with dynamite. But Furiosa kicks one of them away and stops the bomb from going off. Then the bikers try to climb onto the truck, but Furiosa finishes her repairs and Jack speeds up. This throws some of the attackers off and allows their own fighters, the war boys, to defeat the rest. But there are just too many bikers, and the war boys are dying one after another. They're also giving up their lives because they believe it will get them into heaven. When a truck blows up and crashes into their vehicle, it causes Furiosa's hat to fall off. She comes out, and Jack realizes who she really is. Right then, the bikers get close again, so Furiosa and Jack begin firing at them to keep them away from their truck. Then Furiosa uses a robotic arm to take out a biker who's gliding on a kite. When another biker flies towards her on a bike, she hits his leg with an arrow. After that, she instructs the last war boy to turn on the drill, and she takes cover behind a door. The final enemy flying towards them gets pulled into the drill and dies. As he's dying, he fires a bullet that takes out the last war boy. After everything that's happened, Furiosa points a gun at Jack and tells him to stop the truck. Jack knocks her away and drives off, but then he comes back walking. He tells her he has nothing left and suggests they begin a new life together. He respects her as a strong fighter and doesn't mind that she's a woman. When Jack offers to show her all the tricks for living on the road, Furiosa decides to join forces with him. After that, she becomes his main helper, and they go on trips together for Joe. One day they visit Gastown to get fuel and find out it's in bad shape because Dementis can't lead properly, and there's hardly anything left there. While they are there, Dementis sees Furiosa but doesn't recognize her because she has changed a lot as she has aged. And Dementis wants to have a meeting with other leaders, and Jack says he'll tell Joe about it. However, just as they're about to leave, the people around them start causing chaos. Jack and his team, with Furiosa driving, quickly escape. Jack defends them by shooting at anyone who comes too close. They get through the main gate just in time, but during the escape, Furiosa is injured with a stab wound to her shoulder. So Jack carefully helps her with her injury. After they get back to their home base, they deliver Dementis' message to Joe. This causes a disagreement among Joe's assistant and his children about the next steps. In the end, Joe tells Jack to go and collect as many weapons as they can from a place called Bullet Farm. Later, when they're alone, Jack sews up Furiosa's injury and they chat. He's curious about the tattoo on her skin, so Furiosa shares the sad story of how he lost his parents. So Jack expresses his desire to help Furiosa locate the place of abundance. Convinced by his sincerity, Furiosa trusts him and reveals a seed she has been safeguarding, inviting him to join her quest. The following day, they set out for Bullet Farm. Jack decides that Furiosa should drive a security truck instead of the rig. When they get there, they find out that Dementis and his crew have already there. Just as the bad guys are about to attack, Jack gives a warning signal, and Furiosa quickly turns around and drives back out the gate. Meanwhile, one truck gets smashed and their main vehicle can't move because it's trapped inside. Jack fights back by firing at the attackers, and Furiosa takes out the person guarding the gate. She also helps her friend by shooting enemies from the other side of the gate. Once Jack sees Furiosa, he quickly gets back on the rig and rams through the gate. Furiosa rushes back into the truck and waits for Jack, but instead of going with her, Jack fires off a green smoke bomb to signal for backup. He then pushes forward, attacking the enemies while turning on a powerful drill. Feeling let down, Furiosa starts to drive away, but then she changes her mind, feeling guilty. She returns and secretly enters the enemy's territory as a sharpshooter, although Dementis avoids getting hit by her shots, but Furiosa manages to take down several other enemies. In the end, one of her bullets just barely scratches Dementis. Then Jack starts smashing into buildings with the rig, and Dementis ends up clinging to the side of a bridge. Then, a tower collapses onto the rig, which gets caught in a hole. Jack quickly climbs out to avoid going down with it. At the same time, Furiosa hops on a motorcycle and saves him using a hook right before it's too late. Together, they get away fast and decide to use Furiosa's map to figure out where to go next. While all this is happening, Dementis is saved by Excavator Machine, and then he orders his guys to chase after Jack and Furiosa. They use a monster truck to break through the gate and start the pursuit. They quickly catch up, and a fierce shootout starts. Dementis drives his truck very close to Furiosa's car, and during the chaos, Furiosa's arm with the tattoo gets squished between the two vehicles. Then, the monster truck slams into her car with its massive tires, causing it to crash. After that, Jack and Furiosa are taken prisoner. Jack is tied to the back of a motorcycle that drags him along the ground, hurting him badly to death. Furiosa is hung from the back of a truck by her injured arm, and she has no choice but to watch Jack suffer. For a while, Dementis just sits on his truck, taking a break and watching his bikers ride around in circles, kicking up a lot of dust. After he gets tired of this, he goes to see Furiosa and finds out she's gone. She managed to get away by cutting off her arm and using the dust as cover. When Dementis tries to go after her, but before run away, Furiosa attached the monster truck's back tire to Excavator with chain. So when he turns on the truck and follows her, the tire comes out because of the chain. After a while, The motorcycle that Furiosa took runs out of fuel. She tries to walk in the very hot weather but ends up fainting. Luckily, one of the Citadel's guards finds her and brings her back. A doctor there uses maggots on her injuries to stop them from getting infected. When she wakes up, she immediately leaves the medical area and insists on meeting with Joe. She tells Joe that she is Praetorian Furiosa and warns Joe that Dementus is on his way with a lot of guns. They see smoke far away, and Furiosa tells Joe that Dementus is setting Gastown on fire on purpose. He wants Joe to rush over there, which would leave their own place, the Citadel, unprotected. Joe thinks of a plan to act like they're going to Gastown to fool Dementus. Furiosa then asks Joe for a chance to be the one to defeat Dementus. Meanwhile, Dementus notices many trucks heading towards Gastown and happily announces that they're going to the Citadel. But then, Joe's right-hand person sends out a signal that causes the trucks to turn around and come back. Over the following 40 days, a brutal battle takes place on the roads. During this long fight, the soldiers of Dementus and Joe engage in fierce and ruthless combat, constantly attacking each other, and Furiosa makes a mechanical arm to use. She then goes to the people who fix cars and asks for one to use. The only car they have left is missing a wheel, but she doesn't mind and takes it. She discovers where Joe's sons are working on their cars for the ongoing battle and sneaks off with one of them. At that moment, the person who keeps track of past events calls her the fifth rider of the apocalypse, adding her to a list of important figures in their history. A few days later, Dementus and his small group of men are traveling when he realizes that two of them have been shot. Spotting an approaching car, he orders his men to split and set up an ambush. Furiosa speeds up her car, knocking over motorcycles to bring them down, and then targets the main vehicle. But it turns out to be an old man is wearing Dementus's cape to lure her in. Despite this, Furiosa takes the cape and shoves the old man, who ends up falling into a pit of quicksand. Afterward, Furiosa keeps an eye on the bikers, hoping to spot Dementus. She sees someone with long hair and thinks it might be him, but when he falls, she realizes it's just another trick. Watching this, Furiosa figures out that the real Dementus is probably the one biker who's riding off alone. Moments later, Dementus realizes someone has cut his water bottle, so he comes out of hiding and sees Furiosa. He tries to shoot her, but his gun is empty. He starts to run, but when he sees the car chasing him, he gives up and kneels down, surrendering. Furiosa confronts Dementus wearing his cape, questioning if he remembers who she is. Dementus, however, only recognizes her as Jack's ally and tries to take her knife. But he grabs only a broken handle, and while he's confused, Furiosa takes the chance to knock him out. When Dementus wakes up, he finds himself chained. Furiosa reveals the suffering he caused her and her mother a decade and a half ago. Dementus fails to understand, mistaking her for just one of his many victims. Despite this, as Furiosa begins to retaliate, Dementus continues to talk endlessly. Suddenly, Dementus starts seizure and collapses onto the ground. Then Furiosa uses her mechanical arm to break the chains and grabs the teddy bear. Seeing this, Dementus recognizes her at last. He suggests they join forces and become powerful leaders, but Furiosa isn't interested. She lets go of the teddy bear, choosing instead to settle the score with him. There are different stories about what happens next. Some say she shoots him in the head, while others believe she ties him to the back of her car, dragging him until she leaves him hanging on a tree, just as he did to her mother. But Furiosa takes Dementus back into the Citadel and secretly uses him to nourish a seed that Mary had given her. This seed eventually sprouts into a peach tree, using Dementus as fertilizer. When the tree starts bearing fruit, Furiosa helps the women under Joe's control to flee in a truck. This escape sets off the events that we see in the previous movie, Mad Max: Fury Road.